nuestro país. Vengan, escuchen todas las historias, historias de amor, love, aventuras, adventures, and all the bad things and good things that happen to the people of our place. For the purpose of the recordings and all that, I'm Michael Rael, and Claire and I started this little shindig, and Wyman came to help us out. Voces de Nuestro País, simply because I want people to talk about their lives, people to talk about something they want to share with the world, and that's what. So I'm going to start off with a story. We were talking about going to Mexico. I have two little stories of the same guy and I went, and you go down to Nogales and into Mexico in that area, and 12 miles in is where you go in and check in about your vehicle and your visas and all that. And we got over there, and they wouldn't let me go through. Nada. I even offered the bribes, la mordida, and they didn't. So my friend says, "What the hell are we going to do?" I said, "Don't worry about it." We had to walk a quarter mile to get to the office. So I walked back to the car, drove on the highway, and took off and got to where I was going to go down in Kino Bay. What if the cops stop you? They don't stop you here. They're not, unless you're doing something stupid. But no, we had no problem. And then, in fact, there was that same trip on the way back. We came through the Mexican side, no problem. We got through the American side. The guy from the whatever you call him was standing. "Where are you from, sir?" And I said, "I'm from Questa, Mexico." "Okay." And he looks down at my friend and says, "Where are you from?" "Yeah, I'm from Santa Fe." And and the guy stands up straight and goes, "You guys can go." He knew that nobody from Mexico was going to speak that way. "Bro, you're from Santa Fe." "Sí, bro, that's where I'm from." And that's the way a lot of our people talk, too. It's like, we have an accent that really, some people is really strong. But anyway, it makes for fun talking. It makes for fun stories. So as we start, we're going to figure it this way, that start off with maybe 10 minutes a person for now. If we need more, we'll bring you back and say some more stuff. How's that? So that way nobody, we keep doing the change a little bit. So I got number one here, Mr. Bob Jaramillo. And Bob and I go back for many years because he's a Cuesteño forever. His family, todos, I've known all his family forever. So Bob, why don't you come up here and even though I already introduced you, can introduce yourself so they know that I'm not saying lies.
¿Cómo estamos hoy? Traditional Northern New Mexico greeting. Yo soy Wyman Ernesto Jaramillo, a.k.a. Bob, el hijo de Mercedes Maestre Valdez y Hernando Jaramillo de Cuesta, the son of Hernando Jaramillo and Mercedes Maestre de Valdez, New Mexico. What I want to talk about is, I taught history for 31 years in Grants, Albuquerque, and of course I'm not going to be talking about the big events in life, but rather those little things that are part of your family, the little things that you take for granted when you're growing up. And now that I'm, 72, they're very dear to my heart. And first, as a child, I was not the brightest star in the heavens. I'll give you a few stories. First one was when we were living in Albuquerque. Picture a 5-year-old kid, same haircut, skinny as heck, ears sticking out. And I went to Catholic school, St. Francis Xavier in Albuquerque. My cousin Leo, my hero, goes, "Primito, you know what? When you meet the nuns, you go and you you tell them, buenos dias, penguins. So, me being the gullible little kid that I am, I go there, buenos dias, hermano penguins. And I got a cachetazo. My little head went like this. And, the rights of Christ were not that, forgiving to a little 5-year-old boy. First, I called them penguins. And at that time, when we were growing up, remember, you could not speak Spanish in school.
Oh yeah, they didn't like that.
No, not at all. And there's my cousin, the old worldly 9-year-old. God, I couldn't believe you were stupid enough to say that. Like I said, then when we were 7, we moved back to Questa. And I was a city boy back then. So we're going at the foothills right behind my mom's and dad's house. And I'm there with my cousin Doris Jaramillo and Alice. And we're going, and I see these little droppings on the ground. And they nudge each other and they go, yeah. See those? He goes, yeah, what are those? He goes, they're cagaditas de duende. Those are gnome droppings. I don't know what I was thinking, but I guess I was picturing little gnomes going underneath the brush and dropping their pants and pooping all over the place. It was rabbit droppings. Except I was not a bright child. Third story about myself involves myself and my sister Elma. My sister Elma was 4 years older than me. Hated washing dishes. And I have this nasty habit. Well, it's not nasty, but I talk to animals. To this day, I still talk to them. So she was hiding from my mom in the one closet that had a light in there. She closed the door. And I don't know if she was reading Nancy Drew or an Archie comic. I have no idea. So I'm in there. There's a cat there. And I go, hi, Felix. What's wrong with you? And behind the door, Elma's going, I don't know. I think I ate a bad mouse. I have a really bad tummy ache. So like the dummy that I am, I ran down the hall to my mom, the cat can speak. And there's Elma behind going, you are so stupid. And my mom goes, ay, mi hijo, you got to stop being such a menso. And then she looks to Elma, ¿Y tú? Where were you? There's those dishes, they're still waiting for you. You wash them now. And then she looks at me and, oh, by the way, your dog pooped all over the lawn. You go and clean that up. I came from a large family. There was 8 of us. There would have been 9, but my mom had a miscarriage leading into a pregnancy. But, our house was always full of laughter and stories. I come from storytellers. My grandmother, Florinda Rael Jaramillo. That's how Mike and I are related.
Yeah. Questa, the fences were real small back then.
Yeah. When we were growing up, there wasn't really a lot of TV. We'd go visit my grandmother, Florinda, in town. Her house was right next to the Monte Carlo, but it was knocked down. Picture a night, it was being late at night, and my grandma would have the lights were off. She'd roll a cigarette. And you'd see the blue haze of the smoke, and she goes, pues en esos días. And she started off with a story. Now keep in mind, at this time I had lost my Spanish. So I was relearning Manito Spanish, was what they spoke. And there was a little part of a story. I don't really get all of it, but it involved way back her family. Probably when they lived, not in Questa, but they had sheep. And the Navajos and Utes would come and steal the sheep. what they did one time, they would make this cheese, and they put herbs in it. Then the trees went that way. The Utes or the Navajos came in to steal the sheep. They ate the cheese, gave them violent diarrhea. They came back down, took the sheep back, and they stole them back. So, those are stories that they would tell, or they would tell stories about, lights in the night, and owls, and turning into witches, and all kinds of, and you're just like, wow. So, there was storytelling, and, we just being around family. Both my mom and dad have died. But when I walk into my mom's house, now my sister Merlin's house, I walk in to the kitchen. Family always walked in through the kitchen door, never the living room door. That was for guests. Family always went through the kitchen door. I walk in. There's this long table, about as long as this table. On the south side of the table is where my mom's mother, Madalena Mayes, when my grandfather, she stayed with us, and she always stood or sat there. After she died, we took care of my tia Federina. Through Rio from Black Lake, she sat there. She passed away, my mom sat there. Sometimes I walk in the house, Merlin's in Santa Fe, somebody taking care of the house. I walk in that house. I can hear with my grandmother Nene was, buenos días de Dios, Nene. We always called her Nene, never Madalena or Grandma. Buenos días, hijito, ¿cómo estamos hoy? Muy bien, ¿y usted? Or then when my tia Felina was a jokester, she'd go, and she always would go, ¿Cómo amaneciste hoy, tía? How did you wake up? Pues acostada, laying down, I thought, with a twinkle in her eye. With my mom, whenever I walked in her house, she goes, ¿Qué quieres comer, hijito? Venga a comer. It could be 10 o'clock at night, but she still want to feed me.
Yeah.
I walk in that house. I can still hear the voices. Or I can hear my dad. Because, our house always had a lot of querencia, where, family would come in. Another story, my dad was kind of a jokester himself. My cousin, Polly Jaramillo, came to have dinner. We were having liver. And you know how liver is, and she's a little 70-year-old kid. He goes, Tio, what is this? He goes, you don't know what that is? He goes, no. He goes, that is kangaroo meat. A really good friend of mine from Española sent it to me. Would you like to try some? And Polly goes, well, I don't know. But she tried, goes, it tastes weird. He goes, well, that's because kangaroos hop around a lot. So, so he got her to eat liver. Later on, we told her, you know what you were eating was calf's liver. To this day, I don't let her forget that. Yeah, but no, it was just growing up. And another thing I would touch on is kinship. Michael, and I remember this when you would meet people and go, the Kenetas, who were your people?
Yeah, the Kenetas.
The Kenetas. And that extends when I went to college to Norteños that when I went to college. My dear wife, don't get upset. But this happened, I was a freshman in college, met this beautiful girl. And me being the hound dog that I was, 18-year-old kid, she's really pretty. I walked over, introduced myself, we started talking. And with my accent, she could tell I was from the north, right? He goes, where are you from? Questa. She goes, oh, you're from Questa? I have family in Questa. Really? Who's your family? Do you know Teresina Rael Ortega? Yeah. She and my dad are first cousins. Well, her sister Maxine's my mom. I go, crap. This is my cousin. My cousin. So that ended that thing about kinship. And there's also kinship through marriage. When I married Martha, her brother and Bill and Kimber were living here. Their son, Sam, when he went to college, he met one of my second cousins. They were both in the medical program in psychiatry. So he says, my name is Sam McDonald from Cerro, New Mexico. And he goes, oh, really? I took to Hill from Black Lake. I have cousins in Questa and Cerro. He goes, really? Who? He goes, well, my cousin Bob Jaramillo goes, that's my tío. He goes, we're primos. We're practically primos. And to this day, they call themselves cousins. I mean, so, there's this thing of kinship, or growing up in Questa, you was rivalries. Questa versus Costilla, or when I first came back to Questa, Costilla had its own school. Cerro had its own school. There was a school in between Red River and Questa.
That was the School of Mines that
Right.
the mine provided schools. My mom, who's 98, started her school there at the age of 5 at the mines there. That's how long. And I thought, wow, that's a progressive company that provided not only housing, but provided school for the kids. So yeah, that's the one he's talking about there.
With the Columbine, right?
Yeah.
So, going to school in Questa and coming back from Albuquerque, and when we came back to Questa, my dad had built the house. At the time, we had electricity, but we didn't have running water. We didn't have a well. If you wanted to use the bathroom, you had to use the outhouse. That first year was rough. It was a rough year, and I was like, I gotta go use a bathroom where? And back then they would use catalogs, your TP. Don't use the shiny pages.
Use the Sears Roebuck.
Yes. So you get the tissue, you crumble it up, and then you come back in the house. Oh my God, did you wash your hands? Where were you? In the bathroom. Wash your hands. So, that's where we grew up, just having family, having stuff, and just growing up and kinship. But going back to the rivalries of schools, when I went to college, the kids from the north, where are you? From the north. In North there forever. You were a Norteño.
Yeah.
My first teaching job was in Grants, New Mexico. Did not know a soul. I was teaching at a junior high. I was 23, 24 years old. Didn't know anybody. The custodians, husband and wife, they were from Peñasco. I'll never forget them, George and Agnes Lopez. They took me under the wing. And they helped me get along in Grants, New Mexico. I'll never forget them. For just the North taking care of each other. Just doing that. And just teaching in Grants, it was a totally different experience. And then I came back and taught in Questa. It was hard because you had to teach. My youngest brother goes, why do you have to come back? It's my senior year. You had to come back and teach my senior year. And I had to teach a lot of my nephews and nieces, my cousins. And my nephews hated having me, because I think I was rougher on my nephews and nieces than I would have been normally with anybody else. I expected more from them. But I think I've monopolized enough time.
All right. Well, we'll bring you back in a few after a while.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
While we wait, we're going to have Mr. Mark White coming up here. My mom talks about, she was so little when she went to school that when they went to lunch and stuff, the teachers would hold her in their arms. That she was that small. But they taught music. They had music programs. They had all kinds of stuff going on over there for the kids. It was pretty amazing, some of the stuff the innovative stuff that was there. That was the first school in northern New Mexico here in this area. Taos had school, but Questa, Cerro, Costilla, everybody that relied basically on the mine, that's where school went. Uh, my grandfather, they would go with my grandfather there and go to school. At the end of the day, they would come back with grandfather. Pretty interesting stuff back then. It's really interesting what they went through. And I admire all those people that pioneers. There was a guy named Nick Cisneros, passed away many years ago. The first time when he went to work at the mine, what we now know as the Molycorp mine, back then it wasn't. He said it was a hole in the ground, and that they would all smoke a little bit of marijuana to get enough courage to be able to go down that hole. Because you never saw the hole basically unless you knew where it was. And you think about that, it's like, damn, that's scary stuff. All right, Mr. Mark White, if you want to come up, please. Mark White lives in Cerro now. He's been in our area, about how many years now?
Going on 10 years.
On 10 years, yeah. Let him make you there.
Boy, those mountains are neat. They're cool. I want to have them. And, every day walking out of my place is an inspiration. It's just, amazing place to live. When another place I lived for a long time, relatively long time, 6 years, was Mexico City. I get to Mexico City, got a little bit of Spanish, which is where they hired me to teach finance there after I got my PhD. They said, we'll give you a semester to get ready to teach finance in Spanish. And so, I just had a little bit and was speaking English, and a lot of people spoke English there at the ETAM, where I started working in Mexico City. And I'm looking for a place to rent, and this lady has a place real close to the campus where I do most of my teaching. And I just need a room because my family's not going to come down till later in the year. She tells me, you won't believe how corrupt we are here in Mexico City. And it's like, lady, I grew up in Cook County. We could teach you lessons. You guys have a lot of corruption, but we are slick in Cook County. We got it down to a science. So that was a neat place to live. I like learning about the places where I live, history and culture and this and that. And so I had a lot to learn about in Mexico City, a lot of history there. But I am enjoying, learning about Cerro. And Cerro's a very interesting place to me.
So anyway, Mark, thank you. How long have you been in the area?
I have lived up here since 1981 in El Rito, but I lived in Sunshine Valley for a couple of years in 75 and 76.
Yeah. In fact, Cindy, my former wife, has one of your paintings.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
A print or something? Yeah.
Yeah, she does a lot of beautiful artwork. So,
Well, I just wanted to tell a little funny story of something that happened, but I'll start out by saying I moved up here because when I was a kid, we used to go to this ranch called Trinchera that Forbes bought, but it was before Forbes had it. So we'd drive by through Taos. We'd always have lunch at Spivey's, which is now Michael's Kitchen.
yeah.
And we thought that was very exotic because I remember they had a bathtub in their bathroom because it was somebody's old house or something. And then we'd drive by Ute Mountain every time and go through Fort Garland and go over to Trinchera. And I just loved that country up there, and I loved that ranch. And so I always wanted to move back up here. And I went to school in Albuquerque, got an art history degree, and then looked for a guy that would move up here to this little cabin I had learned about that was $25 a month that George McKim owned. You know that place now, it's Latier Ranch. And it was 600 acres, 2-room cabin. It had no electricity or running water. It was very beautiful spot, but it was a little bit rough living there. We had to haul water, and I worked in a candle factory in Sunshine Valley, so I'd burn just candles for light. That was before anybody had solar or anything. But it was, my parents weren't that excited about it because I just graduated from college, and then I wanted to go live like a pioneer in the woods. But one time, probably in the early 90s, I had this friend named, he's still my friend, Steve Bradley, who was a pretty smart guy. And we got this cockamamie plan. I had found this boat down by the by the river in the gorge. I think it was some trail by Sunshine. I'm not sure what trail I found it, but it was like a wooden rowboat. And I'd been to Baja a year before that and gone out fishing in this little metal rowboat. So I was like, I'm gonna go get that boat and take it to Mexico. And so I talked him into going with me. And our plan was to hook up a motor to this boat. And it was a heavy wooden boat. And I remember it was named the Kitty Hawk that was painted on it. But he had a little motor that was like a 1 horsepower. And we're like, we'll go upriver and take it out at Labatos Bridge where we can drive to. And it was wintertime, it was Thanksgiving, shortest days of the year, really cold. So we get in the boat, and I had my dog and us too, and we got dropped off and had a plan for a guy to pick us up, I think that same day. And at Labatos, so we start motoring upriver, and it's hard to go up a river like that, full of rocks and rapids and ice, and the motor failed pretty quick, like maybe within 3 or 4 miles. It was a little bit too far to walk back out. So we're like stuck on the west side of the river. My dog was on the right side of the river because she had swum across. And we were like, okay, we're gonna have to spend the night. It started getting dark. And so there were no trees right there on that area. There were just little willow trees. We made a fire, but it was really cold. And we had big puffy down coats, and we had sorrels. And I remember we were picking dead grass and stuffing it in our snow pants, trying to stay warm. And that was the coldest I have ever been in my life. And we didn't really have any food because we weren't planning on spending the night. So we had Butterfingers bars for dinner, which I to this day cannot stand. And so we kind of huddled up, shivering all night, trying to stay warm, and these sparks were coming from the willow trees, melting all our clothes. And finally in the morning, the sun came up, and the guy was looking for us who was going to pick us up, and he was on the other side of the river, and we're yelling at him, and somehow we got the boat across the river and just left it there because we couldn't haul it out, and got the dog, and he gave us a ride home. But for 2 pretty smart people, that was really a dumb plan. And that was my story.
Just a little bit on that boat.
Have you seen it?
Well, I know about but they used to use that to cross the sheep over and
Really?
cattle. Yeah, because that's where a lot of the people from Cerro used to take all their animals to the other side to graze. And some of them that knew that would take the sheep or some of the cattle that they didn't want to, depending on the river. That's what that boat was used for.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we sort of hid it over on the side, and there was a trail there, and I'm like, I'm going to go try that again sometime. But we went back, and we could never find it. I don't know if somebody put it in the water and it
Probably
got wrecked, or if someone else took it or what. But
well, I
do
think.
you remember the name was the Kitty Hawk?
Yeah, I think if I remember the story right, they found that over there by Arroyondo.
No.
Because it had one of the times that the water came up pretty high, because that river has been known to get up really high, and I don't know if you realize that, but from our area down to Pilar, basically, in the water boating thing that's stage 6, the highest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get. So that boat got beat up pretty bad, but
Yeah,
even
I'm
ended
sure.
up down south.
Huh, good. Well, it's probably firewood for somebody.
But you had fun with it, you know.
I
It
wouldn't.
made you
It
wake
wasn't
up to
the
some.
most fun trip, I would say, but
Started out.
We're gonna give you some Butterfingers.
Steve Bradley was impressed. He said,
Yes.
any other woman would have just been crying and freaking out, and you were just like stoic and like, oh well, here's what we're doing.
Kurt left you with a good story.
Yeah, I even have pictures somewhere.
Wow.
Can you talk a little bit more about the candle factory?
The candle factory?
Yeah. What was that?
Oh, well, it was a little kind of hippie candle factory this guy Genoa Blivens started, and we made variegated tapers. So my job was to make the white candles, dipping them, hand dipped. It would take all, half a day, and I had really strong arms. And then when they were cooled, you dip them in colors in this pattern and have little stripes and designs, and I'm sure you grew up with those, Claire. And it was a pretty good job for me because I could get there from my little cabin. I didn't really have a good car a lot of times. I'd have to ride my bike or whatever and get a ride from somebody. But I got paid piecework, and I got to keep all the seconds of the bad ones. So that was how I
That helped you.
made light, yeah. And it was kind of making me sick after a while, like the dyes and the
Yeah.
smoke from the paraffin, and it was not the most, no codes, no OSHA. I would have failed everything. Kind of a dangerous place, but I kept trying to quit, and he would say, "Oh, I'll double the money I'm paying you." And he kept making it where it was. I made pretty good money for up here for, that kind of a job, but finally I had to quit. But
Well, we noticed it kind of messed you up. Look who you're with.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I've known Wyman since I was in 8th grade, and
Yeah.
I was 13 and he was 16.
Wow.
When I met him. He was my brother's friend, but.
Can you? This is not a Questa story, but can you tell us about your mom's relationship to the Albuquerque Zoo and some of the unusual things that happened in your house because of that?
Sure. I grew up in Albuquerque, and my mom had a job at the zoo. She volunteered for years as a docent, giving tours and stuff, and she was just an animal crazy nut. We always had all kinds of animals at our house, but for a while in the 70s, they decided that big cats should be hand-raised to make them easier to handle in zoos. So they would, when the lions would have babies, or the leopards, or the tigers, or whatever, they would send us home with a baby cat, different people, and we'd bottle feed them and keep them until they were big enough to start, hurting people or wrecking stuff. And so we would have leopards and tigers, and Wyman saw
Wow.
them, and I'd drive around with them in my car and stuff, and take them to the park. And
Still got scars.
You do. But they were sweet, The only ones that weren't so sweet were the leopards. They were kind of scary, even when they were like house cat size. They were pretty intense. But
Wow.
one of the
Which were your favorites?
I really liked this one tiger we had, and then we had a lion for quite a while. We had him till he was about as big as a German Shepherd, probably, and his name was Ricky for Richard the Lion-Hearted, and he ended up. We took him back to the zoo, and then he got a job at the circus. He was in some circus doing an act or something. But when we'd go to the zoo, we would call them, and they'd run over to the cage and like make their little noises and stuff, kind of little purry, wuffly noises. Yeah. So I fed many baby cats, and then we had a little capybara for a while. We had a gorilla for a short time. I guess that was it, but mostly cats.
Not adult.
Huh?
Not an adult gorilla.
No, it was a baby that wore diapers and stuff. Yeah.
Did you ever cross paths with Butchie?
No, but I think her tiger ended up at the zoo, and it was like real emaciated and living on chickens or something. So it was, yeah. I did meet her, I think, later on.
What she asked about was this lady, her name was Butchie. She came back. She used to be married to
Gilligan.
Bob Denver,
Yeah.
the Gilligan guy. When she moved up here, and she had a tiger and a chimpanzee. Now, the tiger, nobody messed with, but the chimp, she would take him to the bars. and he'd drink with everybody, get drunk with everybody, fight with
Sit
everybody.
at the bar and stuff.
But you know what? When I think back on those fights, because they used to literally fight with him, he must have known, I don't want to hurt these people because they're so strong. But can you imagine there at the bar, you walk in and there's a chimp sitting there with a beer?
They could tear your head off. I mean,
Yeah,
chimpanzees are
they're
super
that tough.
strong.
Yeah, but he never
Wasn't that
hurt
rough.
anybody. But you remember the time, yeah, Betsy Peirce, she ended up with Tony Red.
Right.
And she passed away here. But yeah, that's why she asked about Butchie. Butchie Denver.
Yep. So,
Okay.
Thank you, Betsy.
any other
All right.
kind of went off on some tangents.
While Betsy gives up her mic,
Oh, yeah. We keep trying to make off with these.
talk about when I was married to my first wife, we got a skunk as a pet, a big male skunk. The damn thing was about this tall. It was one of the best pets you've ever had, because not even a spider or an ant could go walk into that house that skunk wouldn't get. And then when Donna, my wife, then started working in towns, that we had to leave the skunk alone, he got mad. He would be mad at us. I mean, he'd come, we'd walk in and, hey, pow, man, slap you right then and there. And so we finally gave him to a couple in Albuquerque. And they claimed that 2 weeks after we gave it to them, that somebody broke into their house and the only thing they stole was the skunk. So I don't know whatever happened to that skunk, but you know what? I was amazed how beautiful they really are when you take time to look at them. And then when we were up here in Lati, we got those big wasps, or what the underground that build their nest underground, big ones like that. And there was a big nest right next to the house, and I had to get rid of it because Cindy, then my wife, would go out to do prayer outside, and these damn things would come after her all the time. So I'd go and I'd spray the stuff and cover the hole. The next morning it was right there. And Cindy was praying to her divines, and I'm thinking, one day looking out at that going, how the hell am I going to get rid of these things? All of a sudden this skunk comes up, and I've never seen a skunk up that high, right into the hole, spent about an hour in there, left, came back the next day, and spent another hour or so there, and then it left, so I went and opened up the whole, everything. You just had little gray things that didn't, but that skunk actually came and saved our house from the damn things. Yeah. So, a couple of stories. All right, next.
Was your pet skunk descented?
Yeah, it was descented. It still had a smell, but yeah, you take out the scent, but a male will always have that. The females, I don't know, but yeah, he was, yeah.
So
and I don't even know how we got
He
it.
didn't take it out on you by.
No,
taking up
he'd
the
slap you. No, he would slap you. Get pissed off. The hell? Okay, thank you for asking that, though. All right, Betsy's partner for I don't know how many years, but this guy here is a crazy kind of man, and he's a musician. He was. Did you write that song? On Monday.
No, I didn't.
On Monday, here in Questa, we had, this last weekend we had a young man by the name of James Archuleta pass away. Well, everybody's talking about James passing away. Well, we have another guy in Questa, his name is James Trujillo, that we call Cooney. Well, it was word that Cooney died. And of course, everybody it went like wildfire through Questa. I mean, I called my son up, somebody called me up, and I said, I don't know. So I called my son. And I said, have you heard anything about Cooney passing away? And he laughs. He says, you're about the 15th call this morning. He's right here working, you know. But that's how fast wildfires go. So he decided to start writing a song about it. And I think I discouraged him by singing a song by Willie Nelson called I'm Still Here. You know, I woke up again alive this morning. Something like that. And I'm sorry I did that now.
I'm still finishing it.
Oh, okay, great, great. All right. So, Wyman, come on up here. Put your mic on. And he's also a musician and goes down on Thursday nights at Rael's Market where we get together and have music. You were there this last Thursday, and he brought a bunch of dried apple slices, and everybody loved those, especialmente Irene. She ate them all.
I saved some from her because I put a bowl out and they're gone.
That's cool. All right, Mr. Wyman.
Gosh, I wish I had lots and lots of good, real local stories. A lot of my New Mexico stories are sort of general all over the state.
That's fine.
But I grew up in Alabama and Birmingham during the Civil Rights Movement, and my parents were very involved in that. And they took us to marches, and we had freedom riders staying at our house, and we became blacklisted from pretty much everybody we knew, our neighbors, even some of our relatives. And so we started getting death threats, and the neighbors were getting more hostile. We had to put bars on our windows. And so we finally decided to pack up and move. And so my dad took the job of a gentleman that lived up here named Bud Wilson.
Oh, yes.
And he was a doctor. My dad was a doctor. So Bud went to work at Presbyterian. My dad went to work at UNM Hospital, which was Bernalillo County Medical Center at the time. And so we all moved out here happily. So glad to get out of there. But during the process of getting used to New Mexico, there was a lot of mistakes I made, I think. And I got in trouble many times from not really knowing the culture and all that. And but I met Betsy in high school. I was 16, like she said. She was 14, and her brother Bob was one of my good friends. And so we hung out together, and we did all sort of kind of pranks. We would do things like we would go down in the underground drainage system under Albuquerque on our motorcycles and have wars with bottle rockets where we would fire them off. You couldn't see anything except for the headlights and these rings going by and these intersections. And we'd have all kinds of fun doing that. And driving around, just being kind of crazy teenagers. And eventually, I ended up moving up to Taos in the early 70s. I moved up to Arroyo Hondo, actually. And I bought a little house there for $14,000. It was an 1.5 acre adobe house with irrigation and nice adobe barn and all this stuff. And so it was great. And trying to get accustomed to all the stuff. I was kind of clueless a lot of times, and there was the bar down on the highway, and we would go down there on the weeknights, and it'd be great. We'd play pool and all that, and it was JR's, yeah. Now it's the Midtown. And but I had a friend up one time. We made a mistake of going there on a weekend night and bought some beer, and on the way back, these guys followed us, and we realized something was going. We jumped in the empty ditch and laid down, and they were shooting guns over our heads, and we were like, God, well, this is like the Wild West. And but they drove on, and things mellowed out after that, and we've always figured it was because of marijuana. Yeah. Everybody used to drink and fight.
But I remember.
Seiko and Hondo had these rivalries, and these guys would get down and get together and have these rumbles,
Well, and that time too, that was before the liquor people would come up here. The teenage girls were very, very prevalent in those bars, and so there was a lot of fights over that there and Los Compadres in Taos. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was wild times.
It was Wild West.
Crazy. And I think the 60s was a little crazier. I can remember somebody telling me that the Hispanic person said, my parents said it's okay to shoot hippies. They don't count. And so it was like, but it quickly changed and everything got accepted. And then later, not too long after that, we were involved in, there was the New Buffalo commune in Hondo, and so they would put on these peyote ceremonies with the teepees and the guys from the Pueblo who were the official, guys who really did it. And so you'd sing songs, and you'd walk around the fire and chew buttons, you know. And I didn't know anything about any of this stuff. I was just clueless. But I walked into it and ended up kind of throwing up all over the place, and sort of made them nice friends that way. But that was the way it was back then. And there was a period where there was a sort of not an epidemic, but an outbreak of hepatitis.
Yeah.
And it was supposedly, I don't know if it was coming down through the ditches anyway, but there was all these kind of hippie guys who ended up just living down by the river, and we would bring them food because they were isolating themselves because they didn't have anywhere else to go. So it got to be where, you know, you'd have these little drop-offs. And that's how people dealt with, you know, pandemics back then. It wasn't a pandemic, but it was kind of interesting in that way. And my neighbors next door there, they had goats, and I was in the medical business back then, and I was a EMT, and so they would, if they had ever problems with their goats, they'd call me. So I'd end up arm length pulling baby goats out of their mama goat, and it was like, this is still from, you know, an Alabama kid. This is weird, but. All kinds of fun stuff. Let's see, what else? We would do the river lots of times. We'd run the river, and with friends. And I can remember going down, even with my parents when they were, you know, still alive, and we'd go down and we'd have these things, and we'd come to a rapid or something, and I'd say something like, "Oh my God, this is really going to be scary. We can't dump here." And my mom would jump out of the boat and flip the boat over, and we'd all end up swimming the rapid. And we were like, God, that was really great. And so we had near-death experiences. And so I've tried to carry that near-death experience forward. And so now I started working. Bud Wilson had started a camp up in Lama. And it was the Sangre de Cristo Youth Ranch. And since I'd known Bud, you know, since the 60s, we got together and we started talking. We got a hold of our friend Daniel Hutchinson, and he ended up running the camp and bringing it back to life. And it's been very successful ever since then, thanks to Daniel. But a lot of the kids who were campers then have grown up and become counselors, and they're staff now, and I've gotten to be good friends with many of them. And we do kind of fun things every year, but it is sort of Wyman's near-death experiences. You know, if they survive camp, then they succeeded. And so
Have
we...
you lost many?
Huh?
Have you lost many?
Yeah,
It's
right.
always been near death.
Right, never
Experience.
crossed the line, although it's surprising we haven't. But I've probably come closer than they did, doing some crazy stuff down by the river, climbing rocks and stuff. But anyway, we had a good time with that. And I can remember at one point climbing, I went over to the canyon, going up to the ski valley up the Hondo River, and then taking my dog and hiking up over the Latiers and coming down, and didn't really realize I didn't have a ride or anything. It was kind of getting dark, and I'm like, oh God, what have I done? Anyway, Bud and Barbara Wilson came by at that moment and happened to be going in that direction, so they gave me a ride back. So that was really nice. And Bud and Barbara were amazing people. Everywhere I went with Bud, people would come up to him and say how grateful they were that he had saved some relative of theirs. And he was a kind of a special doctor. He, you know, a lot of heart surgeons that, you know, do that, they kind of just go through the process. But Bud would spend the night with his patients. He would spend all night to make sure they were going to be okay after the surgery. And that was really pretty unheard of. And they were just such a wonderful couple. And they've both passed on now, and we miss them a lot. And that was a big part of my wanting to come up here. The time I moved to Hondo in the 70s was my first attempt. And then I had to go back to Albuquerque to finish school, and then I came back up and lived in Lama, and I lived in Talpa, and I lived in 3 or 4 different places, always trying to get a foothold, you know. get work and whatnot. And sometimes I was building houses at that time, and so I started building houses, and that worked. But the economy went down. I'd go back to Albuquerque, and then when things got better, I'd come back. So I did this like 3 or 4 times, going back and forth between Albuquerque and Taos. And finally, this is another story I got to tell about Betsy's house, which she lived in this cabin. And no insulation in the roof or in the walls or anything. And single pane windows. They just had a wood stove. They lived for almost 10 years out of an ice chest. No refrigeration, no electricity. It was all candles and kerosene and wood stove. And once in a while, the stove would get too hot, the ceiling would start to catch on fire. So we'd have squirt guns and stuff.
Throw glasses of water.
Right.
It was like a pipe right through the wood. There was nothing, it was like so dangerous. And we had this giant stove that we'd put way too much wood in, and it's amazing that we didn't burn that much.
It is amazing. She was a real pioneer woman. I mean, I tell you, it was hardcore. But before that, and I don't know if she remembers this, I knew this cabin, my girlfriend in Albuquerque at the time, her parents owned that land. And so I used to go up with her and hang out, and then I would go sometimes just by myself. And I was up there one night, and it had a little wood stove, not the big one you guys had, but it had a little wood stove. And so I'm like, the wood stove going and would go, and all of a sudden I got this weird feeling, and the full-blown fire just went completely dead. And all of a sudden the shutters on the house started slamming like this, but there wasn't really any wind. And then I'm getting freaked out, and then I start hearing this knocking. And it starts on the side of the house, and it goes all the way around the building like this. And I'm going, oh my God. And then it gets right to the front door and stops. And I'm like hyperventilating.
Oh, yeah.
I'm blowing on the stove like crazy, trying to get the fire going again. It's like, what's going on? What's going on? And finally, I just got so freaked out. I blasted out the door and ran full blast to my car, got in my car, and drove all the way back to Albuquerque without stopping, because it freaked me out so much. I never have figured out what that was.
Was it an owl?
I have no idea. Could have been anything.
It was Sasquatch.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Is there a version of Sasquatch, the New Mexico version?
Yeah, there is. And in fact, there are a couple of stories about that. Gentlemen, there were 3 guys that went up to Ute Mountain hunting. And they said, okay, we're going to, made their plan, let's separate, go, come back in 2 hours. Well, when they got back, one of them, Ernie Romero, he was sitting on the bed of the truck, completely white, literally soiled himself, and he wouldn't talk. For 2 weeks, he did not talk. When it finally came out, he had come face to face with the Sasquatch. And it scared him so bad that's what happened there. Lawrence Gallegos, Mark's dad from Monte Carlo, was driving that back road there in front of Ute Mountain. And he was just driving, doing something, and he says, what the hell's running up there? Somebody's running really fast. So he sped up, and then all of a sudden the thing looks at, turns, and runs up the mountain. It was a Sasquatch.
Oh, I love stories like that.
And then on the other side, by where the spring is, the big spring there by Ute Mountain, there's a certain area you go up there, and the smell is so bad, and that's where they say the Sasquatches are.
Wow.
So
that's where I hang out.
Maybe you're because of the smell.
That's what I'm wondering.
But that's Ernie.
Running water.
Right.
You remember that story? What happened back then?
Really?
Yeah.
You can actually confirm this?
Yeah,
story?
and you can confirm it with a lot of people. And Ernie, like I said, for 2 weeks he would not speak at all.
Wow.
If we ever put up solar-powered cameras to kind of monitor the wildlife corridor and record what the traffic is like and changes through time, would we get Sasquatch images?
You know, my son put one of those cameras up on those rocks up in El Rito, and the only thing it got was a guy with a cane walking by. So you don't know what you'll get.
That's amazing.
No, but then the one thing about there was a guy in Amalia that was saying that he tried to make it that there was Sasquatches over there and that they were knocking down the trees and all that, but nothing ever came of it. The real stories you don't need to make up.
Right.
And like what Lauren saw, what Ernie saw, that. Can you imagine coming around the corner and they're like, "Why?"
Right.
Yeah. And then what interests me about the story you're telling is that whatever was there took all the oxygen out of the area.
Yeah.
To make that fire just go down to nothing.
Right.
That and the only thing I could figure is that might have put something over the top of the chimney to block it.
Right.
So that there's no air, it could not function anymore.
But then it would have smoked.
Huh?
But then it would have smoked.
Yeah. So, that to me, those are real stories. Those is what this is about for me. Talking about little things like that. You're talking about some of the stuff.
Well, people lived in that cabin. Some Archuletas, I think, used to live there and farmed it and stuff. Before McKim had it, like in the
Well, where Cindy lived,
50s, I think.
where Cindy lived, going up that road, there used to be an old adobe that belonged to Archuletas. Yeah, so and they built that like in 1938 or 39, and so there was one wall left of that.
Wow.
That area was. There's a story about a gentleman from. Remember this? I think you remember this one. I don't remember his name, but an old man that would get on his horse and take off up to Latir, and come once a year he would do this, and he'd come down with a bar or two of gold, and that's how he. Do you remember that? Yeah.
Oh my God, really?
And up in here somewhere, and they would try following him. Everybody said, "Vamos, let's go." Shoot, they could never figure out where he went, because he knew they were going to follow, so he knew what he was doing, man. And by the time that they were looking for him, he was already back at his house with a bar or two of gold.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Really? I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got to go look for some gold. Now, can I tell two quick more little ditties about living in Hondo? One of my two favorite memories were, I was trying to, this was back to the earth in the 70s, and so I was going to, grow food and all this stuff, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And I planted a bunch of stuff, and then it started coming up. Now, what do I do now? Anyway, this guy I'd known for a few years was a big, long-bearded hippie guy named Ben Grissom. He'd showed up, and he was a marvel. He knew how to do all that stuff, and he saved me. He made it all work. And so it was hot even those days, and so he would go in his big boxer short underwear and lay in the ditch to cool off while we're working. And I thought, oh God, that's going to horrify the neighbors. And but no, in fact, all the neighbors would come by and say, "Can he come to our house for dinner?" And because they just loved hearing these. He had so many stories.
Yeah.
He would go into the what was it, La Cocina, the big bar in the plaza back then, the 70s.
Yeah.
Had all the portraits of all the old timers on the wall.
Yeah.
And there'd be like a sweet little hippie couple singing their folk songs, and I'd go up when they'd take a break. I said, "Do you mind if my friend Ben sings a song or two while you're on break?" And they said, "Sure, no problem." And Ben would grab that guitar. He had this big booming voice, and he would bam, and he would sing songs like "I've been everywhere, boys, I've been everywhere," and on and on. And pretty soon, people were coming in off the street. The place was packed. People were on their feet, yelling, screaming. And this poor hippie couple, they're like, "Can we have our stage back? And we're so sorry." And so. But that's how that was back then. It was kind of crazy. People did a lot of more goofy stuff, I think.
Well, back then, what people don't realize is Taos was still, and I don't mean this derogatory, but was still owned by Taos. It was not owned by outsiders. And they had a way of just letting things happen. They weren't worried about the cops. They weren't worried about ABC, the Alcohol and Bureau of Santa Fe, and nothing like that. Taos. Well, in Questa alone, we had the Chiflo, which is the bar that right at turn. Then we had the Kiowa, Then we had the Four Roses. Then we had the one,
Golden Cue.
the Golden Cue. And they would have dances every weekend, and every weekend they were full. You know, they would bring in bands from Albuquerque to play here. And Chiflo, one of the greatest heroes of Questa, Roger Blanco. He is a true hero. He had just joined the army, came back after boot camp, got into a fight with some guys there from Costilla, and they cut him up pretty bad with a knife. And so they had to put stitches on him. And when he went back to the army, they said, "Are you sure you want to come into the army?" He said, "It's safer than being in Questa."
Who was the Chiflo?
The Chiflo was right up where it turned off to go to Cerro, right across. That's where the Chiflo was.
Really?
Yeah.
No, nothing left of it?
No, I think is that the, yeah, it's a home now.
His name, Kimmy Sanchez was there.
Yeah,
The Sanchez.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. That was the Chiflo.
And what about the Golden Cue? Where
The
was it?
Golden Cue is no longer there, but right across where Granite used to be.
Oh, really?
They're gone. Yeah, right across there. It was right there where they had
Wasn't
the.
there a wooden nickel or something? There's an old sign that says wooden nickel down, like
The wooden nickel was on this side
way down.
where all those trees are now, but that was just at the Go Bar. Manuel Sanchez's place, yeah. But the other place, Four Roses, is now the bar there on this side of the highway. The Kiowa was where now Roses is. That used to be all of them. I don't care, and I played music on all of them. I remember one time that we were playing and. Errol Gonzalez was my drummer. He was murdered up here in Cabresto. Well, Lorenzo Bailon, Queso, he was one of the most naturally gifted musicians. He could play anything, but he was crazy. One day he says, "Man, can I go in there and do like the wipeout with you guys?" Okay. And he did it. Such a good job that Errol says, "Never bring him up on my stage again."
Nothing like competition.
No, you know, but this is what was back then. Like you're talking about in Arroyondo. My goodness, I remember one time we were down there and we got into a fight with a bunch of guys from who knows where, and they pulled a pistol out, and I just went and grabbed the pistol and threw it out, and everybody's just looking like, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Well, I didn't want anybody to get killed, but what if we would have shot you?" And then that guy hadn't even put the damn bullet, or in the. He still had it on safety and all that. Of course, I
Still,
lied.
who knew?
Yeah, but I threw it away, and that stopped the fight. Yeah, because everybody's like, "What the hell?"
God, it was wild back then.
It was the Questa. The stories of Questa. There's some fantastic stories.
When did the Utes and those guys quit coming down? Did they used to come down here? And I always hear these stories, maybe that from Comanches or something would come down.
The Ute. We had the Southern Utes. That's what the Ute Mountains is named after. The Southern Ute. Back. In fact, Questa was given permission to start in 1838, but they could not settle this area because they would get attacked by the Indians until 1843 when they finally brought an infantry platoon for this area.
U.S.
And
cavalry? U.S. cavalry?
it was U.S. cavalry, yeah. But they had to bring one in. Actually, it was New Mexico, one of the New Mexico groups. It wasn't U.S. But anyway, they brought him in, and that's how they were able to settle. And the Ute Indian, one of the Ute Indian chiefs, his favorite saying was, "I like those Mexicans in Questa, because when they don't like to trade, they're easy to kill."
Oh, God.
Well, because all this, what you got to remember that a lot of people that settled up here came from Spain, and they were farmers. They were sheep herders. They brought in sheep herders for Cerro in that area. Up for many years in Cerro, they had the sheh. I'm going to church. I want some chili. Well, I always wonder, why is that there? It's no longer there. That's the older generations. I talked to a linguist from Alamosa, and he said that's because when they brought the people in from Spain, they brought them from the French side of the Pyrenees, and there were French sheep herders that were up here that settled. And up to about 20 years ago, there was a house in Cerro that had the menorah painted, or the Star of David, I'm sorry, Star of David inside the wall.
And we should sometime, maybe not this time, talk about the history of the Hasidic Jews. Is that came up here? What do they call them?
Crypto?
Well, when they call them the hidden Jews of northern New Mexico and southern Colorado,
Right.
because they were running from the Inquisition, basically, and they came. But like my family has been here in the area since 1679, so, but there was like 5 brothers or 5 Raelis that came, and some settled in southern, not southern, but here, just past, going to Roswell. What's that name of little town? The first little town you hit there. Anyway, and some here in Mesilla, and that here, and the others here in Questa. And there was 5 brothers that came to Questa that are Raelis. And, Cooney can tell you every one of them.
Really?
Yeah, Cooney really has a good history.
Is he part of that?
Well, all of us are part of it. We're related.
Really?
Yeah, we all. No, Garcias, Cisneros, Romeros, Raeles, Gonzalez. We all come from the same clan. One of the first people that came here was French Canadians, and they had the restaurant here for the den for the longest time. When La Forez, yeah, now they're La Force.
Right.
But when they moved to Colorado from here, they changed their name from La Forêt to La Four, so that they could, because Colorado it's always had the distinction of being really, really racist, very bad. One time when Janet and I were singing in Santa Fe, we got hired to go to Del Norte, Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
And we walked into the bar early to set up and all that. And I looked at the stage and they had the barbed wire or the chicken wire in front.
Oh, really? Like the Blues Brothers.
Well, they did.
How funny.
Well, the guy asked me, says, the bartender said, can I help you? And I said, yeah, my name is Michael and we're going to set up to play for tonight. I want to do all that. Well, let me see your green card. I go, what?
That's Del Norte.
And he said, let me see your green card. I said, I'm not going to show you a damn green card. What's the matter with you? I don't have it. Well, you can't play here. And happened the owner come in. Hey, Michael, what's going on? I said, this son of a bitch wants a green card. I had fired him right on the spot.
Oh, good.
But that's the way it was for a lot of people. That's why they had to change. Trujillo's went from Trujillo's to Trujillo's.
Oh, God.
Jaramillo to Jaramillo.
Jaramillo.
Yeah, he knew. Yeah. Rael went to Rael.
Uh-huh.
No, but that Questa, if you go, Questa had a lot of people in Colorado Springs, Denver, Price, Utah. That's what all the, and what I get a kick out of is the people from Costilla and Amalia that live in, especially Colorado Springs, they all get, hey, how is yous doing? They use that word use.
Right. Like New Jersey.
How yous doing?
Yeah.
It's like, how they developed that.
Who knows?
So.
That's in Western New York.
Wyman would say, how you all doing?
Yeah, exactly.
What
I
was
had a really bad
Use
accent.
that term in Buffalo specifically.
Use?
Use. Hey, use guys.
Really? Wow.
Maybe it's Polish. I don't know. But
Yeah, I wondered.
my parents were German and use.
Yeah, that's pretty, well, see.
When I first moved here, I had such a bad Southern accent. Betsy can testify to this, that they wouldn't call on me in class because it would disrupt the class so bad. And I couldn't have a serious conversation with almost anybody because they just like, say that word again.
What are you talking about?
What is that? And so finally I sat down and I was watching like My Fair Lady, and they had the thing about the rain in Spain stays mainly on the plain. So I came up with my own version, which is it's a nice night for a knife fight under a bright light. And when I first got here, I would say it's a nice night for a knife fight under a bright light. And over time, practice, I got to be where they could call on me again in class without disrupting.
But who was that?
Pretty much.
That
What?
one,
You've lost your accent. For
Oh, yeah.
that one comedian that talking about says, this guy on TV from Alabama said, well, if these people have come over here, they got to speak English without an accent. What?
I know. We should have made a dictionary of translations. You know, it's like-
Well, you can. It's real
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Our Spanish is it's so isolated.
Yeah.
You know, my son, I walked into the store, and we're doing the Spanish classes in there, right? And my son goes, Dad, is your Spanish classes is defunto or defunto? That's for a person that passed away. The proper word is defunto. We say dejunto. Why? No idea. And then we say for a nude person, we don't say desnudo. We say en peloto. Basically, a bald person.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and they also use that word in northern Colombia.
Huh.
I talked, with a lady about that, but we have our own stories. My grandfather tells a story. Since what are we okay on time? My grandfather tells a story. There was a guy that killed 2 miners, gold miners here at the fish hatchery, that area. There used to be a lot of gold digging there. And somebody watched him, saw him do it. Well, the guy took off to Elizabethtown, which is by Cimarron, which used to be the hangout for a lot of criminals. Well, they found that out, and so they arrested the man over there. Well, the sheriff and a deputy sheriff from the area took about 20 guys and went to get him. Well, when they were coming back, about a mile out, they sent a runner in to tell everybody, they're bringing back the guy. So everybody came out to watch, and this guy's paraded the guy. They hit him in the middle, sheriff, deputy sheriff, and everybody in the back. And they paraded him to the town. That's pretty cool stuff.
That is cool.
And one of my great-grandfathers was a judge. And they had a warrant for a guy in Red River that ran to Red River. And he got into a cabin, and they would try to go up there and get him. And so they came back and said, so what do we do? He kept shooting us. Bah. He went to the back of his house, got 3 sticks of dynamite. And he said, put this in the corner of the house. Tell him if he don't give himself up, you're going to light the fuse. The guy gave himself up.
Wow. I love that. I love those stories like where they, throw a stick of dynamite in, the dog comes running back with it in his mouth,
Well, that actually happened in Albuquerque, north of, in that, about 5 miles this side, 3 miles out this side of Albuquerque. A guy was burning his weeds, and they caught a mouse and they threw it to where they were burning. And the mouse caught on fire, of course, but he ran back inside the house into the wall, burned the house down.
No!
It's a fair life for real. You never know.
You just never know.
Was it the gold mining
Eh.
that first built the road down to the river?
Well, at that time there was no road. No, there was all just horses.
Because I've read some of the history that says that there was Cleveland money that paid to use hydraulic pumps to mine gold where the hatchery is now.
Well,
So they stripped everything off and left the
area
depressions where they run the water for the fish.
could be. It could be that money. It's funny how big money travels everywhere where you don't want it to be.
Right.
Water only flows uphill to money.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, so you got more, my friend?
Sure.
Okay. Why don't we change mics and
Thank you, Wyman and Michael.
yeah. Well, what time is it? What time we got?
It's 3:37.
3:37. So we got about 20 minutes. No, 3:30. Yeah, about 20 minutes. All right.
Okay.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee.
All righty. Okay, going back, you had mentioned the Utes. The last recorded time, I think the Utes were in New Mexico, were in 1856. They came in, they had money, and they came into a shop in Questa, and they just bought everything in the store. The storekeeper was a German,
Yeah.
and they just came in and they took everything. But sometimes they would come into Questa and purposely they would put their horses in the middle of the cornfield just to be. No, just to prove up. It was a power play. It was a power play. Another thing you thought about the knocking and all this stuff could have been a ghost.
That's what it felt like.
This is a ghost story. This did not happen in Questa. It happened in Burke. Where's the Burqueña?
I've been told ghost stories in Cerro
But
by a lady who collects owls.
so anyway, this is. It was. I was rooming with this one guy. He had bought this house. It was an old adobe structure. Had this little black lab puppy I just bought. So one night, he's at work. I'm home. All of a sudden, I hear my dog. Her little hair on her just goes up, hides under the bed. So I go in the kitchen. Nothing. Down the hall. Go back to my bedroom. So in my room, I go, Lou, what's all this walking? He goes, oh, that's the ghost. In 1918, this little girl died of influenza in the house. And then I go, yeah, right, you're full of crap. But then about a week later, we were watching, football. And he had like this island in his kitchen. Also, just crash, crash, crash. All the dishes were on the floor. He goes, I guess the ghost is not happy with the game. So that was that. Another, you had mentioned the Bigfoot. If you know Benny Gallegos from Questa, he has a Bigfoot story too. Mm-hmm. He has an encounter with Bigfoot.
So we have to drag him in here.
Mm-hmm. But going back to growing up in Questa, so sometimes I feel sorry for the kids now.
What?
I feel sorry for the kids now. Because when we were growing up, you could go anywhere and do anything. You didn't have helicopter hover, parents. This is a story that involved Jack Gallegos, Kent Gallegos, Frank Gallegos, their cousins, Dickie and Harold, myself, my brother Bernie, and Edwin. We went hiking up the mountain. It was probably like mid-June. And we had a black lab with us. And yes, Harold and Dickie, I'm going to throw you under the bus. It's your fault. So we're hiking, and we go, there's a bear, there's a sow and her cubs there. These two idiots start throwing crap at them and go, bear, come at me. Well, guess what? The bear came at us. So the bear's on one side of the ridge going up, we're going down the other ridge. Bears can run pretty fast. So anyway, you see in movies and people, they twist their ankle. Oh, I can't go. That's bull. Because I twisted my ankle, I kept going. My brother Bernie ran into this fence, bounced off, leaped over the fence, and when we finally come down to our property, I was limping. My brother Bernie had a gash on his belly from where the barbed wire in our lab saved our butt. Because that dog had 3 gashes where he had stopped the bear. Did we tell our mom and dad about it? No.
What for?
Of course not.
Which mountain was that?
It's right, our property's right here on Questa.
Flag Mountain.
Flag Mountain, that area. It's our property, cross the fence, it's Kit Carson National Forest.
No.
So for us to go to the National Forest, it's a 5-minute walk.
Which Kit Carson National Forest came in after the grants that gave the acequias the land, and they took acequia land that wasn't farmed or didn't have houses on it, and they said, it's national forest. So much for the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo.
Well, there was a lot of things that happened back then.
Do you have, what are your brothers and sisters, are they all alive?
My older brother Lawrence passed away a year and a half ago. My sister Alma, the one that did the cat, she died. It'll be a year tomorrow.
What was Lawrence's nickname?
Huge.
Huge. They call him Huge.
He was 5'3".
El Huge.
He was huge. You know, people on Questa, everybody had a nickname.
He was white-haired in the 8th grade. Yes. Yeah.
So,
I remember that he always had white hair in the high school.
yeah, but
Are they, your brothers and sisters still live here?
my brother Bernie lives right behind the old elementary. I have my brother Lawrence's widow lives in El Rito. She's one of your neighbors, Evangeline. I have I have nephews and nieces in Ranchos. I have a brother and a sister that live in Santa Fe.
Your sister still, she was the
The
director.
archivist.
Huh?
The archivist was in
She was the director of the Archives of Santa Fe.
And then my brother Ed,
She was
in-
classmate.
he lives in Burque. I'm sorry, I grew up, I didn't call it Albuquerque.
Alburque.
It is Burque. Where are you going? We're going to Burque, man. Alburque. I taught, my first year teaching, I taught in Grants, New Mexico for 2 years. And then I taught for APS. And then I came to Questa. Then I taught in Taos, came back to Questa, and retired. I started teaching when I was 24. I retired when I was 55.
Do you have a specialty subject?
I was teaching U.S. history, world history, economics.
Nice.
So I love, history is my passion. But then we were talking about the past. Remember the Louis burger?
No. And the
Have you
Louis
never had,
fries.
did you ever have Louis burger? Oh,
The best damn burger you'll ever
Oh,
eat.
yeah.
Louis was right where the center is, the Welcome Center. Right across the street was Louis Cafe. Ophelia, they call it Louis Burger, but it was Herman and Ophelia.
You're right.
Herman was the boy, the son.
He had
and,
the best
and
French fries.
Ophelia. And they're always, when you went in to get the salsa and chips, the chips were always warm.
Exactly.
Because they would make those, and then you remember that? Yeah. Louis burgers were the best burger ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way she walked.
When she had this beautiful smile on her face.
And they had a Joanne
Yes.
Ortega working. And to me, that was like 12, 13 years old. And this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. To this day, and then she would come over and flirt with us. Oh, she had us all out like, woo! We thought we were a big stop when we walk out,
yeah.
man.
Why don't they reopen that place? I guess they probably got a bunch of
Well,
No, that was a great place to eat, Louis Cafe, man. That,
got those cool lacquered.
yeah, yeah. And I remember a story. This couple came in with about a 4-year-old, 5-year-old boy, and they ordered a hamburger, and we'll get him a grilled cheese sandwich, and he started crying. And why are you crying? I don't want a grilled fish sandwich. I want a boy fish sandwich. That to him that was important.
yeah.
Well, anyway, I want to thank everybody.
Yeah.
I think we need to do this again, to get, but
Yeah, but
next month we're moving it to February 21st because what is it? Valentine's Day. And next month we're going to have Vito Trujillo Sr. and Vito Trujillo Jr.
awesome.
They're musicians. Now Vito Sr. spent like 40 years in California as a studio musician, but they had a band that traveled all over the United States, and they were like that far from hitting the big time, but they just quite didn't get. And his son, I played with him, with Vito Sr. and Alan Vigil, the late Alan Vigil, incredible person. And then his son played with me in my bands too, Vitos Jr. So I know him really well, and they're going to bring their instruments and do music for us. We started that with the Ariano Brothers. That was a big hit. If you missed it, it's still on YouTube. And so that, and we had David Cisneros and Luis Gallegos that told their stories. And for March, I've asked the mayor of Red River if she would come up, and Carol Werndl. So hopefully they'll be able to do it. Because April we'll have Billy and Johnny Archuleta coming up.
Awesome.
And they're also brothers, great musicians. And then I've asked other people that are interested in coming. Wyman, he got away cheap today because he didn't have to tell all his story, you know. And of course they want me to tell stories, and I will tell the clean ones. But we've had Questa. To me, there's nothing like it anywhere. I've traveled all over with on boards that I'm in, and there's nothing like Questa.
Yeah, I know with myself. Every time I'm coming like from Taos, and I'm coming down
That hill.
that La Cuesta,
Yeah.
I go, I'm almost home.
Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. When I come down, I see, orale. That's it.
I remember being a little boy, and you know how little kids are. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And once we were coming down the hill, I go, I'm home. We weren't even home yet, but you were coming down that hill. I was home. That was my querencia, that feeling of home, of being part of the land.
If you remember, the old road before they did this
Yes.
one had a big dip.
Yes.
And Charlie Gonzalez put an airplane engine on an old Studebaker. The Studebaker that was like this. And who was finally, they were coming down that hill
Right.
over 100 miles an hour, and they hit that. Of course, they never got back on the road. They ended up killing themselves on that. But that car was going way over 100 miles an hour. They don't even know how fast it was going. But he put an airplane engine on that damn car. Remember, that's why they call him Charlie Airplane.
Forgot to downshift.
That was but that's what it was, and we there for a time we were losing 3 or 4 people every summer, from coming in from Red River driving too fast, coming in from Taos or coming in from the Cuesta people had always been adventurous, I guess, and I remember coming down from Red River one time with 66 Chrysler New Yorker, and there by the Elephant Rock area. I come around that last curve, and there was a whole bunch of elk on the road, and I'm going like 80. I slammed brakes and everything, and finally ended up sideways, and there's an elk looking at me like, orale.
You're like, ándale, vato.
Yeah.
Bring it
The
on.
elk said, I got here first.
Yeah. Well, we had a guy who just, Bonifacio Fresquez, just finished rebuilding a 1961 Cadillac 4-door, the big caddy. He had spent thousands of dollars fixing that car. He took it for a ride up to Costilla and back. On the way back, there in my El Rito, he saw a herd of elk. So he stopped about half a mile from him. Because I don't want to get this. So he's sitting there watching, and there was a big herd. All of a sudden, pow, on his door, a male elk came and just smashed right into his door. Wow. And that door cost him $1,200 to find it in California. But you've been there a long time. You guys have been there. There's how many calls from the highway there?
So many dead elk on the road and then the big blood.
Right.
I've never hit one, but I've come close a lot of times.
And that's where I had my big heart attack that I died for a long time. And Regan and everybody, they saved my life.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I died for 20 minutes.
Wow.
And the God and the devil were sitting there watching because they know each other after billions of years.
They threw you out though.
Yeah. And God told the devil, says, you want this guy? And the devil says, no, he come and change things down here. No, you keep him. And God says, well, I don't want him yet. We'll just send him down to spread hate and discontent among the people.
Do you remember this one story? This is a Kiowa story. Lloyd Varela and the motorcycle.
Oh, well, I'm not sure. Start it and I'll see if I can
I
finish.
guess they were, no, the guys, "Andale, Lloyd, we dare you to drive
Oh,
your
to drive the motorcycle into the Kiowa.
into the Kiowa."
And Modesta's got no Lawrence Ortiz was the bartender,
Yes,
and Lawrence got mad,
right.
and Lawrence was not against anybody, but he was gay, and he hit Lloyd like this, not like this, and knocked him out.
Do not mention that to Lloyd. He will.
No, Lloyd still gets mad about that.
Yes.
And then in the same, Modesta, when she was bartending, Modesta Cisneros was the kind of person you fell in love with
Yes.
because she had a heart that's so big. In fact, we were doing a big party for my grandmother, my mom's mother, 80th birthday up in Cabresto. All the family was there. All of a sudden, here comes this big car with Modesta and 6 ladies, gringas, from out, and to the party. And of course, they became part of the party right. And I go, Modesta, how long have you known these ladies? I just met them, but I needed to ride up here. That's the kind of lady she was. Mm-hmm. And then, I can't say the exact words because there's cussing, but I have a primo hermano, Roy Panza.
Oh yes.
Primo hermano, hey, that's how he talked. And he was giving everybody heck at the bar. Modesta grabbed him and had him in an airlock. And suéltame. And it would say the word, suéltame. That was Questa.
She frog marched him out of there.
Yeah, took him out of the bar.
No family feuds?
Yeah. And when she died of cancer, and I saw her at the casino outside smoking, and I go, aren't you dead yet, Modesta? She says, no, them cabrones that don't want me yet.
Yeah.
She was special.
Another Lorencito, remember?
Oh,
You're talking about Cooney being dead. I remember they spread a rumor that Lawrence was dead. I was teaching at the high school at the time. He gets wind of it. He calls Grace Salazar with the secretary. He goes, this is for all you people at the high school. Contrary to what you all said, I'm very much alive. I'm not dead yet.
yeah, but that was the days. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you for everything. Mark, everybody. You have listened to the stories. Vayan y digan a todos que vengan a escuchar las historias de nuestro país.